So today I've got a real treat for you. Malcolm Foster, previously of the Pretenders and Simple Minds, is going to be chatting to us about his long career with some great bands. He's a lovely guy and he's got lots to share, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So without further ado, I'd like to say thanks to Malcolm for giving me your time, and here we go. Here's the interview. So, Malcolm, welcome to my channel. It's been a long time. I mean, it must be, God damn it, over 15, maybe 20 years since.
Yeah, we've been living out here since early 2000, so it's 19 years. Yeah.
Wow. And you happy in New Zealand?
Yeah, we are now. The music business is a bit small, but other than that, it's okay.
Right. It's a smaller market, but I see you're still very busy, my friend. Still very busy.
I'm trying to be as busy as I can. Yeah, it's I'm beginning to sort of phase it down and going a bit more into recording stuff for people, and also thinking seriously about doing a solo project. So.
Oh, fantastic! There's some good musicians down there.
Yeah, there are a few. Yeah. Getting hold of them's sometimes difficult, but there are a few. Usually distances more than anything, but more and more people nowadays have got GarageBand or Logic or that sort of thing, so they can do basic audio recording and stuff. Right. And hopefully, I've been on the piece. He was actually around here earlier this evening. Unbelievable. We haven't seen him for ages. He just popped in with his kids.
Oh, well, that's Pete Warren Ruder from DD Smash. Just so people. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. And how's he doing? Is he well?
He's all right. Yeah, he's budding through. He's doing a lot of teaching drums.
Okay.
And just generally trying to fill his time up with that and get as many gigs as he can, really.
Right.
The usual sort of the music hound is on the case with it, really. But as I say, it's a fairly small market down here, so it's a bit difficult to get things together.
Right.
We both found it difficult coming back here originally because of the level we've been working at. And coming back over here, there's two bands that work at anywhere near that level. And they haven't changed their personnel for 20 years, so it's a bit difficult, really.
Yeah.
But you just adapt to it and you do what you do, and and the world's changing around us as well. Since I last saw you, streaming has become a huge thing.
Yeah.
Doing what we're doing now, and this whole sort of situation has changed totally. So. At the beginning, I was very angry about the whole concept of people giving away music for free, and now I really don't care anymore.
Yeah, it's about self-expression, and however you get that out.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and the human condition requires, I've got to have 100,000 likes on that, otherwise I don't get a tip from in this box and get funding from blah blah.
Yeah.
Whereas, and 25 years ago, I'd have worried about that. Now I could give a monkey's toss. Really.
I read something just to cover that subject. I read something about Peter Frampton. I now don't quote me on the song, but I think it was maybe "Baby I Love Your Way." And he'd done some research as to how many views he had and plays on Spotify or something. And it was in the millions, and he'd earned $5,000 from millions and millions of plays.
It became very, very noticeable here, Lord, when she put out Royals.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the song.
Yep.
It was actually released here about 9 months before it got famous anywhere else, and they re-released it here on the back of some stuff that was starting to happen elsewhere. But they totaled that out over the 2-year period that was doing its thing. 160 million plays, she got 11 grand.
Ah, that is shocking.
And she's one of the biggest artists in the world, so it gives you some idea of what streaming is. And this is why I have a big thing about Spotify. I don't, if anybody asks me about it, I say, whatever you do, go anywhere else. Go to any other streaming site, but don't put it on Spotify, Because if you're blind, you'll never see any money. You're so far down the ladder that you just won't ever see anything,
No. Don't you think that now it seems that bands are making the most of making money from live shows and doing more of that, and actually the music is just a means of promoting the live shows almost and making the most of that?
Well, yeah, I think particularly coming from the American side, people like Pink and Katy Perry and those sort of things, what you're seeing is 9 months very well paid rehearsal for a Las Vegas show. You know what I mean? It's that sort of situation,
Yeah.
where you're going to go off and do something. We saw Shania Twain recently, and she said, "I'm off to do 9 months in Vegas," and so which was one show a night for the next 9 months. So probably some ludicrous amount of money,
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't have to move, don't have to do it, It's just it's a license to print money, and that to me is the gaudy, horrendous side of it. I'd rather see, the Kinks come back and play live. Just plug into an amp, no pedals, no tricks, nothing, no smoke machines, nothing at all. Back to the days that been, or the Small Faces, where it's just all it is 4 or 5 guys on stage giving it everything they've got, and earn respect of the people that are paying the money,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Malcolm, I want to take you back because there's a lot to cover, and you've had a very, very interesting career, and I've been doing lots of research on you and sort of poking around here and there. I promise no dodgy photos because I came across quite a few of those. So did it all start with the Foster brothers and that side, or what were you doing before then? How did you start in the music business?
It really was the Foster. I mean, I tinkered with cello at school and played a couple of things with my brother, who was starting to play school gigs, but it never really locked in, and it wasn't until I was probably near on 2021, I suppose, and I got made redundant. I was living in Bristol with my parents, and I got made redundant, came back to London, and my brother was just about to go on tour supporting the band called UFO.
Right.
A heavy metal band, glam heavy metal, basically.
Yeah.
It's still around, I think. God forbid. And would I drive the Transit? They had a bass player, Jerry somebody, I can't remember his name. He had a horrible old Rickenbacker bass, I remember that.
Right.
And so I started my illustrious rock and roll career by driving a Transit around England, supporting this heavy metal band. And about 2/3 of the way around the tour, and Graham's band, my brother's band, was a 3-piece blues band, 12 bars, simple 12 bars.
Right.
Most of them in A, most of them the same sort of tempo. Right. Dr. Feelgood, that sort of vibe,
Yeah.
And they were on the circuit much the same time as we were too. And the bass player just decided, we were in Leeds, I think, somewhere, and he got up one morning and he got a ticket and he went home with his bass.
Oh, wow.
So I borrowed a bass from Pete Way, the bass player from UFO. Graham taught me how to play a 12 bar, like, literally, in a hotel. And I went on stage at the next gig and finished the tour off, at least bumbled my way through it, got through
Holy
it.
cow.
And we had some quite good gigs, actually, because it was half an hour, and it was just a thrash, really.
Yeah.
And after that, I took it a bit more seriously because I quite enjoyed what it was. So he taught me a bit more, and I learned a bit more, started listening to particular records and so on. And it kind of grew from that, really. And and it became an absolute passion after a while.
Wow. That's incredible that you just sort of, the opportunity arose and you just grabbed it with both hands and you ran with it, Yeah,
well, it always seemed interesting to me. I tried guitar before, and there was just too many strings, and I just couldn't get that concept of drumming and and trying to put 4 strings in the right place at the right time was just a nightmare. Whereas bass, at that time, my concept was 1 finger, 1 note.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a hell of a lot easier. And when they're going away doing all this stuff, and all you go is dun 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 dun, dun, and that's all you do.
Yeah.
And you move back again, and that's pretty much it. And I'm thinking, this is really easy, And the drummer's working hard, and the guitar player's working hard, and you're kind of just plonking along,
Yeah, absolutely.
Was that? It was just, and support for Graham as well, because he was going crazy about the fact that they'd have to walk off the tour and so on and so on.
Wow.
And we had there was a talk of a single and stuff which appeared way down the line, but at that point they were talking about doing something. So it all sort of, I just sort of drifted into it, really, and after that I was playing as much as I could. And then started playing with friends of my brothers because they asked, come and play with us. And it just grows from that. Before you know where you are, you're on the circuit,
Don't you think? I was talking to Russ yesterday about this whole thing about how opportunities arise. And one of the big points he was making is that, it's a lot of it is about networks and relationships. It's a given that you've got to be able to play, but relationships and getting on with people are a big important part of what you do.
Yeah, and you know, and doing what it says on the packet, really. You know, don't go in there with some sort of, you know, blown up ego or attitude, thinking that they deserve to have you. You know, it
Yeah,
really was. And anything I've ever done like that on an audition basis, you get in there and it's hard work. You know?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you prove your point because there's a queue of guys outside who want the gig. So
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
was always just preparation and being true to yourself. Really, that's what it
Yeah,
was in the early days. When you get to the point of, like I was doing the Pretenders and went over to Simple Minds, it was a lot of people said, "Oh, it's because Chrissy was with Jim and all that stuff." But they've been talking to me for 2 years on and off about doing bits and pieces where I like to record with them and so on. So it was a natural thing for me just to sort of, well, we just finished the world tour with the Pretenders, and the Simple Minds want me to go and do one with them, so off I went. Really, it was that.
wow.
It was very simple and straightforward, and it wasn't a question of auditioning or anything like that, because I'd done that for 8 years with the Pretenders, you know.
Right.
So they'd seen me around, and I'd known them as long as I'd known Chrissy and the guys as well. So, you know, we were in and out of each other's pockets on tours and stuff over the years anyway. So.
Absolutely. So if I just rewind a little bit, because this is a fascinating period you're talking about. So from the Foster Brothers, what was the link to the Pretenders? Because I know you did a stint with the Rocky Sharp and the Replays for a short while, and then some other.
Yeah, we'd done some recording down at Chipping Norton with Mike Vernon, the Foster Brothers' first album.
Right.
And while we were there, I'd been chatting to Mike, and he said, "Oh, you know, you can play your 12 bars good, you know."
Yeah.
We had this thing called Rocky Sharp and the Replays, which was, and we have a band to record with. As it happens, my brother got to work with them before I did. He did some guitar on a couple of their tracks.
Right.
And then they asked me to come down at one point, 78, 79 maybe, around that period.
Right.
And stay down for 2 weeks and actually record the album, do an album with them properly. And then we toured that. We went around a bunch of gigs in Europe and stuff, touring that. And then I split from that because I was asked to go and do some gigs with the band. I don't know if you remember. Are you still there, Andy?
Yeah, I just lost you. So you said you were asked to do some gigs with
a band called Mud.
Oh, right, Mud. Yeah, absolutely.
Tiger Feet and the Cat Crept In and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which was a similar thing. It was just 12 bars, really, with a little bit of a flair and ridiculous clothing.
Right.
And we did American air bases, tour around the American air bases for about 9 months or so, on and off. And during that period, I've been doing odd gigs with my brother as well. And then one of the guys that we worked at school with, a guy called Robby who's a luminary guy, was a couple of years below me in school, but he'd been over in the US with a guy called Chris Thompson, who sung Blinded by the Light and Davies on the Road with Manfred Mann.
Right.
Had put his own band together, and he'd gone over to America to support the Doobie Brothers. They'd come back. The bass player had decided to leave.
Right.
Robby said to me, "Do you want the gig?" I said yes. And so I've moved up an echelon, the level straight away there, because Chris was doing much better gigs than us. And he kind of got on with me, Kiwi, strangely enough.
Yeah.
And we got on pretty well, and got down to doing the music thing. And we did an album with him as well. And off the back of that, my brother had been doing some gigs, and we were at a gig one night, and Jimmy Honeyman Scott, the Pretenders guitar player, who wasn't Pretenders guitar player at that time, he was just a young guy in town who was playing, and apparently he'd been sleeping on my brother's floor in his flat.
Wow.
And he'd come up to play, and he played at this gig, and I got up and played and stuff like that, and we kind of kept in touch. So over the next couple of years, we'd seen him, and I'd seen their rise, and he'd gone, and I never got a chance to see them in the early days, which was a real shame, because they were just off and breaking the world, basically.
Absolutely.
And then out of the blue, I've done another year or so gigs with Thompson and sessions and bits and pieces. And out of the blue, Robby and I got a call one night saying that Pete Farnham had been kicked out of the band because of the whole smack thing and stuff like that. And Jimmy Honeyman Scott wanted to stop playing guitar and play piano. He was a very good piano player. And he wanted Robby to take over the guitar parts. and me to take over the bass part. So it was just going to be a 5-piece band rather than a 4-piece band.
Wow.
And they had a bunch of songs ready to do it, and then he died.
Oh my God.
So it was all kind of put on hold for about 6 months or so. And then we got a call once again from the management company saying that Chrissy still wants to go ahead with it. She's got some other songs ready. Right. Did we want to get involved? And it was from that point on, it was in, and it was non-stop from that point, really.
You know what? I've never, in doing all the research and stuff, I didn't come across that point that he wanted to move to keyboard. That's a fascinating sort of twist to the story. I mean,
it was. I mean, because we'd been around them anyway like that, and we'd shown us some of the ideas for songs. And strange enough, I was going through some cassettes recently and came across one of the songs, which is just a pretender song, but there's piano on it as well as guitar, and it was just one of those things. But it would have made them a little more sophisticated probably than they were. Okay. And I think that's what he was trying to do, was trying to take them away from the punk thing and lift it out. Yeah. Third album, all that sort of thing, the growing up album.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's now. Can I ask you, because there's some fantastic tracks on Learning to Crawl album. Middle of the Road, 2,000 Miles, Chain Gang, and I couldn't work out if you'd played on Chain Gang or whether that was.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't work out. It wasn't clear. It looked like you could have done, but maybe it was.
No, I got involved. What had they done? Chrissy had done Chain Gang and My City Was Gone.
Right.
With Tony Butler on bass.
Tony Butler, that's right.
Yeah, from Big Country.
Yeah.
Mick Green on guitar. Mick Green from Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, believe it or not.
Okay.
Who's a dead cool guy. We actually met him through another thing anyway. A dead cool guy, but loved playing the stuff. But there's no way he was ever going to go on tour and play with us. That was a shit. But really cool. And then, as I say, Robby and I got involved, and we took over from that point, did everything else. So.
Yeah, I mean that album is just absolutely rocking, and I've got to say, I think that you filled the boots and more of Pete Farndon. I think it really went to another level when you joined, and Robby's playing is just crikey. On Middle of the Road, that solo is crazy.
It's a lot of youthful exuberance there too. Yeah. I mean, and we've been pumping away for a few years doing the rounds and playing the gigs and so on and so on. So neither of us were particularly frightened by it, because we didn't really appreciate that once again that step up. Right. We hadn't done any gigs with them, so to speak. It was just meeting a couple of people you'd seen on Top of the Pops a couple of times, and you like to hear it on the radio, and it really was like that. So the camaraderie was pretty instant. Generally, we got on really well with everybody because we had no egos at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the recording was just a pleasure. Working with Chris Thomas was a joy.
Right.
He was fantastic at what he was doing. The album came together really quickly. He mixed it really quickly too. I think it was about 3 weeks from start to finish.
3 weeks. Wow. Wow, that is pretty quick. Along today's standards, where you hear that people are spending sort of like a year, dabbling about in the studio, 3 weeks is just incredible, isn't it?
Well, it captured what we were, which was a live band, even though we weren't at that point. I mean, that's what Chris was the concept of it shouldn't sound like another song on the record. It should sound like the last song after a 2-hour set.
Yeah.
Every one of them should sound, right on the edge of it.
Yeah.
We kind of captured that reasonably well.
So then we've got a landmark performance at Live Aid.
We do, yeah.
I mean that's something that it must be etched in your brain. Tell us about that, Malcolm.
It was a strange one, because we'd finished off touring with the Pretenders, I think, if I remember, just before Christmas '84, just after Christmas '84. Right. And so we'd been talking about, Chris had been talking about doing some recording, and then out of the blue we got the call once again saying, "Oh, there's a gig happening in America. Chris wants to do it. Are you cool for it, really?" And we said, "Yeah, fine," not knowing what it was or anything at all. So we went and rehearsed for a couple of days. And then we were given, this is the funny side of it, we were given a budget by the record company to go and buy clothes, still without knowing what this gig was.
Right.
And so we went out to buy clothes, and during that period of time, we found out exactly what the gig was, which was the huge charity thing, So Robby and I and Rupert, the keyboard player, went to the local op shop, and we spent about $10 and bought outfits for everybody. Dodgy old shirts, and Robby had the knotted handkerchief on, and a pair of wellies, and the whole 9 yards, mate. But we spent about £10 or something, and the budget was ridiculous for the clothes and stuff they wanted us to wear. Wow. And we gave ours to the charity. Gave our money to the charity. She spent about £1,000 on a Yves Saint Laurent get up, that beautiful thing she's wearing, which worked. The great thing is it was fantastic. But we'd seen her like that anyway, right through the tour, with this ridiculous, fantastic gear she had. So it was in her to do it. But I'm sure she gave money privately anyway behind the scenes, without any doubt. But the day was just fantastic. We flew over there the night before, got up in the morning, came downstairs and had some breakfast, and got into the car to come out, and all the car radios, all the people listening on the street, all the shops, all had Live Aid on, because it had already started. But then Status Quo off. It was about 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning or something in England, wasn't it? It was very early, so it was about 2 in the morning in New York or Philadelphia. Where we were. Been going on for a bit, but it was everywhere. Everything. Nobody was listening to anything else. All you could hear was Live Aid. As in the limo with the windows open, listening to us. We were driving into this thing, and then you could hear it in the stadium. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable feeling. And putting in backstage, and all of a sudden you're in amongst 500 of the most famous people in rock and roll. That was kind of interesting, to say the least. Yeah. To meet a lot of people. Schmoozed a lot. I stood on the side of the stage and watched the Beach Boys, which was a sort of a career high for me.
Wow. And what was the vibe amongst the other musicians? I mean, typically there's a bit of rivalry amongst bands and stuff. What was the feeling on that day?
No, not really, because we'd had the build up to it with Bob and so on, and so we knew what was going on. As I say, 48 hours out, it was a big push. Right. And so the whole situation turned around. The general vibe from everybody was just to have fun, have as much fun as possible. Thumbs up to Bob and Midge for doing what they're doing. Thanks Philadelphia for putting on this side of it, and we'll move forward from there. Harvey Goldsmith, whoever it was that did it all. Yeah. And we'll move on from there, but it was fantastic. We were smoozing around backstage with Jack Nicholson at one point, and he came up on stage and I think I can't remember whether he introduced us or it was just after us. He came up and made some crack about people putting away any solubles in their pockets because they're going to spray hoses on the crowd and stuff. We've been backstage with him earlier, being rock stars. So
you're right. Okay, say no more.
I'll say no more for your audience. But which was really cool. Him and Warren Beatty were had set up this whole thing backstage, which was going to meet them and enjoy yourself as you pass through the airstream, so to speak.
Yeah, incredible. So then we've done Live Aid, and then tell me about the transition from the Pretenders to Simple Minds. I mean, obviously. There's a relationship there between the two bands as well. So, like you said, you probably knew the guys, I guess, for a while.
Yeah. I mean, when we first sort of started the Pretenders thing, early '84 for Learning to Crawl, we pretty much started off down here. We did Australia and New Zealand festivals to sort of wind in, a couple of gigs in England, and then straight down here basically, and then came back through America. And we flew down with Simple Minds and the Eurythmics and Talking Heads.
Oh wow!
So it was a 4-band package that we were putting through the festivals in Australasia, basically.
Wow!
And so we all met at that point, or they all met at that point. I'd met Charlie and Jim before, but maybe 6-9 months beforehand, a year beforehand maybe, and so it was just like a 40 musicians and crew on the road. Really, it was like a big tour, and we swapped around headlining. 2 nights everywhere, and we swapped around headlines. So we support one night, and then headline one night, and so on and so on. So it was really democratic all the way around. And we did probably about 18, 20 gigs, I suppose, all in all.
Wow.
And an absolute ball, and got to know everybody really well. And my connection with them has continued pretty much from that point, because we spent a bunch of time with them. And I always kept in touch, and we'd see them on the road passing through things, or they'd come and see us some nights and so on.
Wow.
And so when I knew I'd heard that John Giblin was leaving the band,
right,
and pretty much straight away I got a phone call from Charlie saying, "Come up to Scotland to the studio and integrate, so to speak." You know. And did some recording for Street Fighting Years and bits and pieces, which to this day I don't know whether they're on the album, because it was really strangely put together. The whole thing was odd.
Right.
But and then that album was finished. I spent a bit more time rehearsing with them, about 3 or 4 months, I suppose, rehearsing with them to do that album live.
Right.
And then we went out and toured it in '89. Toured it right through '89.
Big stadium gigs, yeah.
Yeah. This was nothing smaller than 25,000 probably.
Wow.
About 80 gigs around Europe.
There's some great footage on the internet of that period, by the way. I mean, the stages just look like, the actual stage are as big as like a football field. You know, God knows how you communicate with people, like musically, when they're sort of like way over there. You know.
Oh, it's pretty good. I mean, the stages were well designed. A lot of the time we had underfloor monitoring. So and it was stereo, so we'd have 2 guys on monitors, and so if I was running around, which I did a lot, and Jim used to move around a bit, and Charlie a little bit, but the other guys were pretty sedentary. So myself and Jim and Charlie had a guy working us pretty much all the time. So if I was running around the stage, they could just pan it, and it would follow the monitors underneath me as I went. So my mix would go with me as I moved, you know.
Wow.
So, which was dead cool. So I could hear everything clearly. It didn't matter where I was, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good, and it guaranteed that people wouldn't come into my area because my mix was loud, you know.
Right.
Right.
Stay away. Fantastic. So, and then I remember seeing you actually. Was it? I think it was Wembley Arena, and just blown away. It was so on the ball. I do have a cheeky question to ask you, because I saw some footage from Waterfront, the song Waterfront. Was that sampled, or were you playing that the whole way through? Because that's...
No, it was sampled. It was the original sample that Derek had used on the record, and his old Vigier bass. I don't know if you come across Vigier.
Yeah.
You know, and it just had that particular sound, and they used it, and that was used in the loop. Yeah. But I was allowed to do anything I wanted, really. So I was carrying a fretless with me on the road. Right. So I used to set that up and get some outrageous sort of sound on it, and just back through the monitors, play chords or harmonics or whatever I fancied playing, really, because I could.
Right.
I could dance around, you know, and knowing full well that the gang was always going to be there. You know, and some gigs they put me out front, sometimes they didn't.
All right.
Charlie, if I was doing something okay, Charlie would probably give them a nod. I'm sure they would add it to the front, but I'm sure there's some things that certainly didn't go out for him.
Now, I just remember seeing the footage from, I think, a show in Italy, and I thought Malcolm's having way too much fun here to be sort of hit.
So we did think about it. You know, I was thinking of early days of loop pedals and stuff that I could capture, you know, 4 bars on a loop and work with that, you know, and just add chords and so on. But it never seemed to feel right. Just never seemed to sort of gel as much as that clanky old sound. To the monitors, you know, it just drove the song. So, you know, I resigned myself to the fact I was just going to have 5 minutes of fun, you know.
Right. So actually, you know, like I said, this is round about the time that we met, and I must admit I was totally in awe, as I still am today, of you, and you know, quite graciously, you did 2 or 3 gigs with me and Peter in my band, and I remember saying to my mum and dad, "You're never going to guess who I'm playing with at the moment." I mean, Malcolm Foster from, he's done Live Aid, he was in the Pretenders and this sort of thing. And you know what? You just rocked up, you plonked your gear on stage, and we rocked the fucking, oh, excuse my French, we rocked the place. And I just thought, wow, what a guy, it's just, it really does, it's about the playing for this guy. And, it was just such a blast playing with you, Malcolm. I wish I could have done it more, but, we then went on. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. What did you say there?
I'm still alive.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So then we hooked up again. You'd recorded the Acacio album with Peter, and who was the producer on that? Malcolm, remind me.
A guy called Steve James.
Right.
Yeah, who done? He started off working on Abbey Road with the Beatles as a tape op many years ago, and he's done all sorts of stuff through the years. I've actually just finished an album with him recently. I went over to Brisbane and recorded an album with Neil Innes.
Oh, wow!
Who was down in Brisbane? So yeah, I came back about a month back. So I love working with Steve because he's got really good ears.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, going back to Acacio, yeah, we did that album in a place called Gorgon Studios in Lille in France.
Right.
Strange place, I have to say, pretty redneck.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a good experience. Once again, we were given free rein. She had a basic set of acoustic ideas, right. And she'd come off the back of working with a band called Cock Robin, who were quite big in Europe. I'd never heard of them to my detriment, but she was quite big particularly in France.
Right.
So she got these ideas, but she wanted to do it with an English band rather than American musicians or the people that she worked with, or French guys that she worked with before.
Right.
And so we were literally given free rein. We've got a guitar player called Dougie Boyle, who works with Nigel Kennedy now.
Yep.
An exceptional player. I mean, a freak player.
Absolutely.
And a guy called Simon something or other. I can't remember his name now. Anyway, he was doing keyboards and programming, and he came in a strange transition too. So we spent 8 days or 9 days or whatever it was just bashing out these strange and wonderful songs, in the way that we wanted to do it, to make it different.
Your bass tone on that album is really dark, and it's on tracks like Beginning to Wonder. I mean, there are snippets where there's just bass playing, and the tone you've got on that. What gear were you using? Because it's an awesome tone. It
was an Ampeg 4x10 with an Ampeg head, just a regular 300-watt Ampeg head. Yeah. And I had at that point I was using a 5-string bass made by a company called LaFay out of Hamburg.
Right. Yeah, got you.
Awesome piece of machinery. All hand. It's just one particular guy that does all the work. And it just had for me, at that point, I'd been doing the Simple Minds thing, and it was just fantastic for that, because you could just hit a note and it would just sustain forever.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful. It's still being made. It's still beautiful guitar. And as I say, they just wanted a bit of a sound, so I just overdrove the amp. That's literally just an Ampeg cranked through the speakers, so it's actually overloading the speakers.
Wow. Well, it sounds incredible. I mean, it's the sort of sound that you want to emulate, but you'd never actually reproduce it, unless you had that gear,
Yeah. Well, as I say, first thing you have to do is to overdrive your amp, which a lot of bass players don't like to. Because I was doing Simple Minds, I actually had 4 of them, so I just took one unit over with me. And if it had broken, they probably would have fixed it for me anyway. So.
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't really too much of a problem, but it worked really well, and it as I say, it just shows the strength that Ampeg gear has.
Absolutely.
Any other bass gear at all. So.
Absolutely. And I remember we got to play with each other again when we went out to Hong Kong to do the Meedem Festival. So I was lucky enough to play with you guys again, and Lord knows why you picked me. I mean, God, trying to emulate the stuff that Dougie Boyle did. That was a real. I mean, I don't think I even came close, but that was a real masterclass when you listen to what he did on that album as well. It was all of your playing on there is exceptional. It really is.
Yeah, it's the same. We were just given free rein, so you try crazy things out, and it kind of works. So it was just left on. It was as simple as that. Really, there wasn't time to break things down. It was very much just a spontaneous attack. We got 2 hours to get this thing nailed. This is how we're going to do it. Okay, that doesn't work. Let's try like this.
Right.
And each one is a very spontaneous take.
Right. So after that, I remember sort of I was doing some writing with Pete Warren, and I know you were writing with him as well. So tell us about the journey from that point, and your movement to New Zealand, and sort of what happened in the interim years, because I didn't really, this is before Facebook, so it's a bit of a blank area for me. What you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'd finished off with Simple Minds the end of '95, beginning of '96. And started doing a little bit of production work, playing odd gigs with people,
right?
Doing some writing for what it was worth at that time, although they're still valid songs for what they are. And then my father passed away, and that kind of clicked a switch. Karen had been talking about coming back here.
Right.
We had a couple of kids by then. And their ages were such that we could switch straight into schools there, and they'd slot straight in, and it wasn't a problem.
Right.
So I talked to my mother about it. She agreed with the idea. So during that year, we got ourselves to the point where January the 1st, 2000, actually.
Wow.
We got on a plane at Heathrow, and 2 days later we ended up here. And we've been here for 19 years now. So,
God.
And I enjoy it. I've done a bunch of production work with people, a few albums with people, sessions with people, lots and lots of gigs, ranging from original stuff right through to doing New Zealand cover music.
Right.
But everybody, once they've had a few beers, they all start want to sing all the old songs, so you've got to know them.
Oh, fantastic.
But right now, I'm still doing the odd gig like that. If people ask me to do certain gigs, I'll do them. But I've kind of, this is going to sound incredibly arrogant, but it's not meant to be. I've kind of almost priced myself out of the market, to the sense where the gigs that I get offered are actually enjoyable to do.
Right. Okay. Got you. Yeah.
Every corner pub, and a lot of messing around, which I just, at my age, I just can't be bothered to do it anymore, mate. I'd rather pick a gig here and a gig there that I really enjoy doing, and that satisfies me enough. And as I say, I've got Pro Tools downstairs and a new UAD set up and everything down there. So I'm seriously thinking about doing some proper recording of my own stuff. So
I think that'd be very exciting, Malcolm. And of course, as you say, now that we've got these great internet speeds and everybody's got Pro Tools or Reaper or whatever else, you can work remotely with each other and create something really great. Yeah.
Yeah, expect a phone call, mate. Definitely.
Oh, bless you! I would be absolutely honoured. I wasn't digging there for anything, but I'd be honoured.
Make it as awkward tempo and key wise as possible.
Please do, and I'll go to school again. Well, listen, thanks for bringing us up to speed with your history. I wanted to delve a little bit more just on a couple of points. So the first thing is, what equipment has sort of been a constant with you during your career? I think you had a sort of you were quite keen on the Fender Telecaster bass early on.
I had an old Telecaster bass fairly early on, and I've been working pretty much around the Chris Thompson time, around sort of late 70s. That I just found it in a junk shop, and it was battered, and nobody really knew what it was. And I took it to a guy called Roger Giffen, guitar builder called Roger Giffen.
Oh, right, yeah.
Who was working in London at that time. He's now in Seattle, still working.
Yeah.
But and he re-lacquered it for me and set it all up and refretted it and did the whole thing, and it was beautiful old, mid-60s, I suppose, slab body precision style, but it was the Telecaster bass,
right.
Which I used for ages. I had a precision as well, and I had a jazz, and I had an alembic at one point. And
Right.
trying things out, but never really enjoying them, you know. So I ended up with my Telecaster bass, and I had a 66 precision, a white precision, and I used those for years.
Wow.
Right through the start of the Pretenders stuff. Sorry?
Do you still have them?
No, I don't have either.
Oh, shame.
No, I've got rid of most of my guitars. I've got a at the moment. I'm using a 83 precision, which is I've had for a while, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I've got just been given 1969 Gibson EB bass, one of the old.
Oh, wonderful.
What do they call it? The violin shaped ones. Pre the Hofner ones.
Wow.
Which is beautiful, but it's in Australia at the moment. I'm working out how the hell I'm going to get it over here.
Right.
But yeah, it's been given to me. Other than that, I've got a sort of a generic 5-string, which I use a lot. I've been given a couple of guitars which I've added extra pickups to, so they're basically Bartolini's, active electronics, but Bartolini's, and they're a delivery system that looks good.
Right.
The only thing I don't have is a fretless. I'd like to have a fretless, but I don't have one at the moment. However, I've got an old Epiphone SG bass.
Right,
lovely. Rip the frets out of that and get that done, and that'll be fine because it's really aggressive pickup. The pickups are lovely. So.
I'm living in Denmark now, and I had a lot of gear back home that I left over there because I thought I might be going back to play a little bit, and I realised that actually I was sort of playing more in Denmark. Of course, it's massively expensive and dangerous to take equipment on Ryanair. So what I realised was that I would unbolt the neck. You probably can't do it on basses because the neck's too long, but I would unbolt the neck and sort of get a case that was wide enough to take the thing and just wrap it all up and take it that way. Yeah, but I don't know how you'd get a bass over. That's a different.
No, especially one like this, it's pretty rare to say the least. I mean, it's sorry.
Hand luggage.
Carol says hand luggage.
Hand luggage, exactly.
Yes. It probably is the best way, but yeah, it's an expensive way of bringing a guitar over. But whatever. Well, it will end up here eventually, and that'll end up on the recording because you stick it into any compressor, turn the compressor up so it's smashing the crap out of it, and it sounds like McCartney. It's just fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. So just to sort of finish off, Malcolm. You've played in so many different band situations. What are your dynamics when you're playing with a band? I'm sort of interested to know. Obviously, there's always a relationship between the bass player and the drummer, but how do you find your feet in a band situation? Is every band different, or do you sort of stake your claim early on and
I think they are. Once again, that comes down to not having an ego. I think if you go in there with a nice open mind, that helps a lot because you just never know. A lot of bands, you might listen to something on record and you go and you think, oh, you're going to play it live, and they've rearranged it. Right. So it's almost pointless learning the original version. You know what I mean? Right. Simple Minds were classic at it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really, I suppose getting on with the drummer's good, getting on with the singer's good. So you get the phrasing, work out the way they're going to phrase. With the drummer, it was always bass drum and hi-hat. It's all I ever listened to. Didn't need to listen to the snare drum. So,
right.
Where their foot was and where their right hand was that's what groove was for me.
Yeah.
A little bit of guitar, a little bit of vocal, and plenty of me and the drums.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you know what, Malcolm? I could talk to you for another 10 hours, but of course what time is it there now? You must be 10 o'clock, coming up to 10 o'clock?
10 to 10 in the evening,
yeah, lovely. So where can people find, do you have a site where if people want to find out more about you and what you're going to be doing and what you're doing now, is there anywhere people can? I'd like to put it in the bottom of the YouTube video.
No, not really. I do have a Facebook site that's under my name, but it's administered by somebody in England, and I'd speak to them once in a blue moon. So
okay.
There's probably nothing, if you really want to ask questions. But other than that, no, just Google me. It's just,
there's plenty of stuff out there.
I promise that in the next 18 months I'll have some sort of product out there under some sort of thing that involves me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope so, and I hope, Malcolm, that if I'm still running these interview things and you've got some new music coming out, then maybe we can hook up again and we can talk about the process of that, and that would be great and be a pleasure for me to do.
Yeah, of course. And as I say, you'll probably be more intimately involved than you imagine you would be. So.
Oh, bless you. Well, I look forward to getting the call. Malcolm, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Take care. I wish you and the family luck with whatever you're doing, and we'll speak again. And I look forward to hearing some new music and getting that call from you, my friend.
Yeah, it will be coming. You have no problem with that at all. Thank you very much for the chance to actually do this. It's actually using technology to its best effect, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's been fun, and I'm sure we'll speak again. And hopefully, this will be going out next week, and I'll be in touch when it's coming out.
Cool. It's lovely to talk to you, Andy. Much love to your family. Big hugs all round, and we'll speak soon. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much, Malcolm. Take care, brother.
Take care, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.